To Pete and Hannah's watch list. I'm your host, Pete Mitchell, and we're here today for We Interrupt Regular Programming, our TV podcast. On today's show, we have the recap of episodes 3 and 4 of True Detective and Night Country. We also look at episode 3 of Masters of the Air. We have a look at the new season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. The first episode's dropped for that today as well. And we also look at the Prime Video whole season of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the TV adaptation of the movie. But before we begin, I'm going to tell you, viewers and listeners, what you should do. Like, follow, and subscribe all our channels. Hit the notification, and you'll get great content like this one. Big week on the channel. All leading up to the Oscars in a couple of weeks. We'll be doing a live stream following the Oscars on TikTok and YouTube. Let's get on to the show, and today we're covering episodes 3 and 4 of True Detective Night Country. Episode 4 has just dropped, so if you don't want to listen to the recap, you can skip ahead, and the details of this episode are in our bio. So let's look at last week, where we were at after the first couple of episodes. All things were pointing to Clark doing rituals to find Anna's killer, or they were trying to bring Anna back and it went wrong. The mine and the mine company is definitely a big part of this. That's where we left off. So episode 3, it starts with a flashback of Navarro and Anna, how they first met. Then Navarro is leading the hunt for Clark, but the hunt is hijacked by Hank, who has brought on some civilians. He's a bit of a loose cannon, Hank. We learned that what started the fallout between Danvers and Navarro, they went to a call out where there was a murder-suicide that took place. Navarro and Danvers are analysing pictures, and the pictures finally revealed that someone knew about Clark and Anna's relationship. Hank knew about this and didn't follow up, so there was it's a confrontation at the ice rink. Hank's really excited to meet his Russian bride, but it turns out she doesn't turn up to the airport. There's an employee from an engineer from sales that quit before Anna's death, so they're trying to chase him down. We learn about Navarro's childhood as well, how she grew up in Boston but had to leave because her dad was a real bad guy and ended up in Alaska. And then Anna's sister is becoming sick again. Danvers, we finally find out that her child is actually her stepchild, and they have a run-in over her doing protesting and learning about the culture of the mining in the town. They find the missing SAL worker. He ends up kicking them out of their property. They're finally one of the workers, Lund, he wakes up from a coma and he's communicating to Danvers, and Danvers has to stop a fight, and Navarro and Lund are together. And then Lund is like possessed, and Navarro is like freaked out because he's pointing to her and saying, "Your mother is waiting for you on the other side," and then he dies. We find that Pete has found the phone of Anna and has finally got it going, and it turns out it's the last words before she's killed. So that's how the third episode ends. We start back up with the fourth episode, and Navarro's sister, has been ill, she has a breakdown. Danvers finds her, and then Navarro puts her in a facility to find out what is exactly wrong with her. Danvers is trying to chase down Otis, Danvers and Navarro chase down leads from the video that Pete found the previous week in the cliffhanger. And in that video, there was some bones, and then that led them towards the next discovery. This episode's a bit slower than the last couple. It's a bit more about what's going on in the town, and then there's a lot more about the stepdaughter in this one. Pete's relationship with his young wife, who's a bit estranged. So Danvers gets drunk. She ends up trying to sleep with the captain. She drives away from that meeting, and then ends up nearly hitting the polar bear, the one-eyed polar bear. It was just really weird, sort of ghostly sort of things happening. Danvers calls Navarro to come over. Navarro has just got beaten up because she found out that her sister has committed suicide, walked into the sea and basically drowned. So she meets a guy from the first episode and gets into a fight. She gets beaten up and then goes over to Danvers' place and then sees that there's a toy polar bear. And that toy polar bear is the same toy polar bear that she sees in her visions of a young kid. And the young kid saying, trying to communicate to her mum, and her mum is Danvers. So, but Danvers is having nothing of that. And Navarro and her get into a fight, and Navarro is about to drive off, and then Danvers realises that they've found Clark in these big boat, and so her and Navarro go to go to find Clark in the dredges, and they find Otis instead. And Otis is wearing the same coat that Anna had, and he's freaked out. There's drug paraphernalia everywhere. Navarro and Danvers are split up. Navarro gets spooked by a ghost. Danvers can't find her. Finally finds Navarro, and Navarro's ears are bleeding, and she's like completely freaked out. Danvers has talked to Otis, and Otis said that Clark's is lost in the night country, and everyone's lost in the night country, and that's where the episode ends. So it's a lot slower, this episode. It is also, you're finding out there's a lot more between Navarro and Danvers. That murder-suicide, that wasn't a murder-suicide. It was the person was still alive, and either Danvers or Navarro has shot that guy, and that's going to work out the reason why she got transferred to the troopers. Danvers accuses Navarro of seeing things, but there is a point of view that Danvers is seeing things as well. So saw the polar bear, saw something, a spirit with that murder-suicide. So that's going to come out in the wash as well. So what's the theory? So I think drugs are definitely involved here. A lot of people are seeing stuff. The mining company keeps being brought up. The people that are behind the mines are also behind Salal as well. So that's where I think this is where it's going. And then someone has just made a mistake and tried to cover it up with these, symbols and all that stuff like that. So we'll find out in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, it's lost its way a little bit. These series, sometimes I don't think they need as many episodes as they need. This was a lot of exposition in this episode, so yeah, but still continue to watch, and I'm loving Jodie Foster's performance in this. She's fantastic. So that is True Detective. So we'll drop a review after every episode now. So we've caught up to the show now, and so after every episode on a Monday, we'll drop a recap of True Detective, and it fits really well into with Curb Your Enthusiasm, which dropped its first episode today as well. So let's talk about Curb. It's the final season of Larry David's comedy show. It's been running for like 24 years. This is, it showcases Larry David's comedic genius. So, like, if you love Seinfeld, you'll just love Curb Your Enthusiasm. So we pick up this season where young Larry is being really successful. Maria Sophia is the breakout person, even though he had so much trouble with him last season. Larry is still living with Irma because he's been told that he can't break up with her because she's just on the wagon. So he's counting down the days to her breakup. This falls into, like, Larry fighting with Siri in the car. Like, everyone's had that fight, and just the way Larry fights with people and stuff, it's just amazing. And it's just quick fire, this episode. It goes from one situation to the next. Like, so the next situation is Larry's meeting Jeff and Susie, and they're having lunch, and their food's not coming, and it turns out that the guy has lost his father, and so he's getting sort of consoled by other customers, and then Larry just walks up to him and goes, "Sorry for your loss," and just takes the food that the guy's got in his hands to Larry and Susie and Jeff's table. It's just, yeah. And Larry's in this episode, he's going to Atlanta. He's been bought by a fan for a birthday party. So him, Sophia, Maria are going to this fan's birthday party. So he's getting paid to go in Atlanta. Leon tags on because that's where his mum's from. And so Leon is at the airport and he's paying out Sophia Maria's dog, who's overweight. It's just really funny. I just love Leon. He cracks me up every time he's on TV. So you meet Leon's mum in this episode, and Leon's mum is looking for a new pair of glasses, and Sophia takes the glasses off Larry's head and puts it on Leon's mum, and the glasses fit perfectly for her, and then they give back to Larry, and then his glasses don't fit anymore, and so they're fighting about. So Larry ends up getting Leon's mum's glasses, and he's walking around town with these lady glasses, and it's hilarious the looks that he's getting. You know, he has a run-in with the housekeeper as well. Just classic, you know, in those situations where you're trying to realise how much housekeeping that you should be doing when you're in a hotel room, like. Should I make the bed? You know, should I pick up my clothes and all that stuff like that? You know, it's just all the things that you think of yourself, and people have sort of conversations with others about, and then Larry David just brings it into a funny way. So he goes to this party, and Sophia's like a big hit in this party, and Larry's just being Larry, and he goes, "Oh, I want you to introduce you to my friend Brookie, but you're not allowed to call her Brookie. You have to call her Brooke." And so Larry just wants to call her Brookie, you know, because, you know, if you tell Larry he can't do something, so he goes to call her Brookie, and she corrects him and says, "No, it's Brooke." And then she drops the "lair" on him and goes, "Oh, well, you're allowed to call me Lair, but I'm not allowed to call you Brookie." And then this random guy comes up and starts calling her Brookie, and then Larry questions him to say, "How long you been friends for?" And he goes, "Oh no, it's the second time I met her, and I call her Brookie." So Larry's like totally offended, and then he's just being Larry. And then so the next day, Jeff rings him and says, "You're not going to get paid for that party." So Larry goes over to the guy's work and to work out, you know, why am I not getting paid? And it's because he offended Brookie, and he also was not being cordial. And Larry goes, "I was pretending to be cordial," you know. And it's just so funny. And then they have this like meeting between him and the African guy, which turns out he's a white guy. He's South African. And Larry's like questioning him, like, "Why are you calling yourself African if you're South African?" You know. And then they're having a meeting, and he's pretending to be Desmond Tutu in this meeting. So Larry finally gets his money back. Now, it looks like it's all going really well for Larry. But then the maid is throwing out his clothes because she thinks that Larry tipped her with putting a $10 note in the toilet. And then I don't know if this is good podcasting with me just recapping Curb Your Enthusiasm and laughing all the time, but I'm enjoying it. So Larry is talking to Sophia Maria, and he puts his phone down, and the fat dog sits on the phone and sort of butt dials the guy that the white South African, and he overhears Larry just giving it to this guy, and Larry realizes that the dog's butt dialed, and then he goes, I'm not going to get my money, and he goes, nope, and then that's the end of that. So Larry has to go and give Leon's mum her glasses back, and he meets her in an election line, and he's saying, this is hot, like, how long you been in the election line for? And she goes, it's 2.5 hours. And so Larry offers to get her water, but it's illegal in Georgia for an outside person to give someone in the line get water, so Larry gets arrested. And the last photo of the scene is Larry with a mugshot, and that's how the episode ends. So I'm interested to see how this season's going to go, because the last two seasons we had Larry, Latte Larry, which was fantastic, and then last season we had young Larry, which was very good as well. So it'd be interesting to see if the Georgia election rules play it. But funny first episode. So I thought it'd be a good chance to talk about Curb Your Enthusiasm after the heaviness of True Detective, and so that's what we'll do every Monday. And it's this last season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. The next show that we're going to talk about is Masters of the Air, which is now streaming on Apple TV Plus, and it is the third episode. This episode is action packed. The next mission that the boys go on is to take out a ball bearing factory in Germany. And then they're going to be decoys, and they're flying to Africa. Egan is not flying this mission. He's just going along for the ride. You have Cleaver, who leaves his wingman, and then he has to go and join another squadron, and then they get shot at. And it's not looking good for Cleveland, and all these people want to bail, and he goes, no, we're sticking in this. Biddick's co-pilot gets shot, and then he has to take it down and loses control in a field. This episode's absolute carnage. So you got people dying everywhere, including airmen just falling out of planes and just wanging into the wings. Cleveland bombs the ball bearing factory. They're trying to make it the way to Africa. The plane is stricken. He's taking, bullets and guns and everything out of the plane just to try and make it. 11 of the 21 planes makes it to Africa, so this decoy mission. Cleveland lands. He's not enamored with the plans that the army pilots are coming up with. He doesn't understand why they're bombing it at the daylight. So they've just landed in Africa, and they're waiting for him to go back to Britain. That's how the episode ends. You don't know what happens with Biddick, but he's probably has passed away. So that's Barry Keoghan's character. So he only lasted a big 3 episodes. You also got the fact that there's a lot of people that have touched down in Germany or Belgium, and they either have to surrender and end up in a sort of prison camp, or they're going to try and make a run for it and go back to Britain. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. The preview for next week's episode there's like Spy, there's like the boys going back to England with a new group to start bombing raids. So it'd be interesting to see where the show is, but like it's just so full on. It's just brutal. Like, I've been rewatching some Pacific episodes, and just remembering how brutal that was. And so, along with Band of Brothers, these 3 shows together, like, just the brutality they put the people through, brutality of war, and but just amazing the shots that they have with the planes and the fighter pilots, and yeah, it's just really good. I can highly recommend Masters of Air on Apple TV. So the last show we're going to talk about today is Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which was the Donald Glover TV show remake. It's 8 episodes. It's on Prime Video. It's now some of the episodes go between 40 and 100 minutes. It's really good. I can highly recommend it. It's a little bit different from the movie. It's the two people that are together, played by Donald Glover and Maya Erskine. They are Jane and John Smith, and they know that they're not married, and they know they're spies, and they're pretending to be married. So there's like a whole group of Mr. and Mrs. Smiths all over the world, and they're taking out all these tasks. So it's about them learning about each other and then doing missions, and everyone gets 3 fails, and so they're trying not to fail their missions. So each episode's a different mission, and it's just a fantastic show. I find it funny. It's like some are action-packed, some are a bit slower than others, but I was able to watch it in one afternoon. It was really, really enjoyable. It ends with a big cliffhanger, which, you know, these TV shows always should end in a cliffhanger if they can, I find. And I can highly recommend Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I love Donald Glover. I loved him in Community. I loved him in Atlanta. And he's done a great job. Originally, this was supposed to be with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She pulled out, and he has written this with Francesca Sloan, who helped him on Atlanta as well. They do a great job. And it's stylish. It looks fantastic. But the outfits, the costumes that Donald Glover is in this movie, God, like there's one episode where they go to therapy, and each time they go to therapy, there's a different wardrobe choice, and he looks just amazing in this. And wow, you know, the chemistry between Maya and Donald, like I didn't see them together, like you know, I wouldn't have seen them together, but it somehow works in this show. And he sort of taking the lead at the start, then she sort of overtakes the lead, and the person they talk to on the phone for their jobs is sort of playing them off against each other. It's just really, really good television. And, you know, like I was skeptical about a remake of like a movie that was basically around 2 hot people, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, and then all the stuff that happened around that with Jennifer Aniston and stuff. But this show, it just works. And I can highly recommend Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is on Amazon Prime. So that is our show today. We covered a lot of ground here. Looking forward to watching the next episode of Masters of the Air, which is episode 4, and then episode 5 of True Detective, and then episode 2 of Curb Your Enthusiasm next week. A big week on the channel. We've got the usual AFI, we've got the What's Next, and we've got movie news, and we've got our usual games, a Blockbuster, and Championship Belt Holder, which is 2010. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Hit the notification button, and you get great content like this one. Also, comment on what TV shows or movies that you want us to review, and we'll give them a review over the next couple of weeks. Until next time when we catch up for AFI, it's bye for now.